All right. Meanwhile, for everyone here, just want to drop some alpha. You recently you saw that we launched two new roles, right? Symbiotic Prime and Sync Lot. I think these two roles are really important moving ahead. Just wanna let everyone know that you guys should be gunning for the Symbiotic Prime role, and Sync Lot role plays a really important part as well, right? And everyone knows that there's the inner circle program that is going on. So having the Sync Lot role and also the Symbiotic Prime role will play a very important part in getting yourself into the inner circle. So I think that is the biggest alpha I can share with everyone here today from my own end. Meanwhile, 3 more minutes. Let's see, Jose. All right, 1 more minute. Let's see. Let's see. We're waiting for our guests today, Jose and Edgar. So let's see, where are they? Jose and Edgar. Are they here yet? Let's see.
Hello, hello.
Hello, GM Edgar. I'm
Symbiotic.
just wait. Give me 1 sec. Let me just invite Jose up. I think he's here already. Let's see. All right, invited him. There we go. And GM Jose, how you feeling? And Edgar, how you feeling as well?
How's it going, everyone? Having a
Hey,
great day.
Jose.
Awesome,
Good
awesome.
to
I
have
think
you, Jose.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
yep,
Amazing,
I can
amazing.
hear both of you loud and clear. Awesome, awesome. Okay, I think let us kickstart this session. So GM everyone, happy to see everyone here again. I think our last session was like 2 weeks ago. So today we have with us a very special guest from Hyve DA. We have Jose, who is the head of ecosystem over at Hyve DA. Super excited to have you here with us today, Jose. Thank you for joining us. And also we have Edgar as well. I think Edgar is not a unfamiliar name. Everyone has seen Edgar, so no need for introduction for Edgar. You're the house. I would say you have always been around and hosting all our guests. So thank you for being here again as well. So before we begin this session, I just would like to let everyone know that if you guys have any questions on Hive DA, do leave them down in the chat because near the end we'll be picking out some questions to actually ask Jose here. So yeah, I think we can get the session started. Yeah, I'm gonna pass the mic back to you. Yeah, let's go.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, as you guys probably know, we have this Discord AMAs. We try to do them every 2 weeks. Last week, unfortunately, we could not do it because most people were in EFCC in Cannes, in the south of France, where I had the pleasure to meet Dawe and Chris, other members of the Hive team. It's really a pleasure to have Jose on. Hive has been like a symbiotic partner like for a long time, and like our teams have been also like very close on the personal level. So I'm very personally like bullish on what they are building. Jose, I think like to kick this off, like I would love if you could just like introduce yourself, tell us a bit what you do at Hive, and yeah, introduce like Hive for us in a brief and simple way. We'll have more time to go into details later.
Absolutely. It will be a pleasure. I hope everyone's having a phenomenal Thursday today. And I'm Jose. I'm the head of ecosystem at Hive. I wear quite a few hats, but I mainly take care of ecosystem marketing. Whenever I say ecosystem, I mean partnerships to some extent, some aspects of it, and marketing and community with a few other chats. But that's what we mainly do, or what I mainly do at Hive. What is Hive? On the other hand, like for those of you who might have followed Hive since a few months ago, you might have heard a lot about Hive and data availability. But Hive, data availability is just one of the key components in Hive, right? Like the data layer. But what Hive is building goes beyond that. I don't want to spill all the beans today, but I will say that Hive is currently building a decentralized and permissionless alternative to AWS, specifically to Amazon S3, which is to storing and managing large data files at scale, right? So we are allowing applications that weren't previously feasible on chain to finally do or make the transition without compromising performance or security. So I think that would be pretty much the summary of Hive, Edgar.
Amazing. Perfect. Um, Jose, we have a little custom here in the Discord AMA for Symbiotic. Is that before we dive into like the deeper, more profound question, we do something we call like the rapid fire questions. It's like simple, engaging questions with like a one line or like multiple line answers, but they need to be like like a very like a short format. So my first question for you is, what's one thing people misunderstand about data availability?
That's it's only for rollups. A lot of people think that the DA is only for rollups, but data data managing and processing is actually very important for so many applications nowadays and blockchains that are currently relying on centralized or permission solutions such as AWS. So that's a very, very, very common misconception that it's only for rollups.
Nice. Besides data availability, what's the most underrated primitive in crypto?
I would say scalability. Like even when talking about economic security or shared security, one of the things that make Symbiotic such an attractive alternative and a useful alternative is that it can scale uh, as much as most can because of all the collateral flexibility and the modularity of the platform. So if economic security, for example, or shared security can scale, then it can be as pretty or as incentivized as you want, but then it can't really scale with the product. So we won't really cut it.
If you weren't working in crypto, what would you be doing?
If I was not working in crypto, I would probably be a bee farmer.
Wow, why is that?
I don't know because I mean, if I'm not working in crypto, it's because I'm guessing things went well because this is the industry that passionates me the most. So if things went well and I have a lot of free time in my hands, I might just learn about bees and nature. It's something that has always fascinated me. I've never planned to do so, and I probably will never do it. But if
Oh,
yeah,
I get it now. It's like the metaphor for Hive. It's why you become a bee farmer after you've made it in crypto.
maybe or maybe not.
If Hive was a video game, which one would it be?
I don't know. Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, probably Grand Theft Auto.
Good answer.
Or the
Okay, let's dive.
or a rat
Huh?
roulette. I like the rat roulette. Have you ever seen the rat roulette? It's like the
I've
roulette,
never
but
seen it. What is it?
instead of a ball in the middle, there's a rat. Like, well, there's a rat in
Okay,
the middle, and you're just like spinning the wheel, and the wheel has a lot of like holes in each number. So in whatever number the rat goes in, that's the number or the color. So the rat roulette.
nice, nice. Okay, so let's dive into like I guess like deeper questions. Yeah, tell us a bit more in details like what Hyvedin is building. Yeah, like you mentioned that like your top competitor is like AWS. You are a decentralized version of AWS, specifically a like S3. Like to the average crypto user, that takes probably like data availability for granted. Like, what does this mean?
So whenever I say that it is building a decentralized and permissionless alternative to AWS, I mainly mean that like we ensure reliable access to data at scale for key operations. Most of the whenever people think about data platforms or data availability, which is what Hive has been referred to the most, people think, oh, okay, they are just making data available like for verifiers and validators to put the blocks together and send them, you know. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of key applications and services that will require data at scale. For example, any sort of applications that regard, for example, images like streaming. If we're talking also about clubs, which has been a very popular topic lately, clubs, which is a central limit order book exchanges, they were very popular at the beginnings in crypto. Afterwards, they were replaced somewhat by AMMs, and now they are having a big comeback. What's the problem though? Most of these are not really on Ethereum or some of the most secure networks, and that's why they are prioritizing or they need a lot of scalability. So, for example, this is an example that Hive is currently excel well that will excel at once it's live in terms of facilitating or ensuring that the base layer or the layer one, it can be Ethereum, it can be Solana, it can be whatever underlying network we're talking about, can actually provide the security to the protocol on top or the layer on top or the this club, while also having all the efficiency needed for order matching, routing, and so on. So we're pretty much, or to keep it simple, we're bringing the scalability that most of these super robust blockchains don't have in terms of data throughput or in terms of just like speed. And we're complementing it with the already existing security guarantees and decentralization that these have, which is something that most other alternatives or similar protocols tend to compromise when inserting that high throughput or scalability. Examples would include, like you just said, AWS, because it's super scalable, of course, but is extremely centralized and permissioned. So it's like having we're saying that we have a blockchain and a decentralized app, and that all of this is censorship resistant and so on. But is it really? And is it really that decentralized? Because if they're using AWS, the answer is probably not. And if they're using any sort of crypto somewhat alternative, which there aren't many right now, then they are compromising a lot of other things as well. So yeah, we are just bringing that solution in which we can have all of these different qualities without necessarily compromising any.
Got it. And what would you say like your customers look like right now? Like what are the applications or like the types of blockchain infra you're focusing on at the moment?
We're definitely focusing on clubs a lot, like I was just saying, because not only because it's a hot topic, but also because it's it's extremely, how do you say, data intensive as well. So it's a very good use case. Whenever we're talking about decentralized physical infrastructure, some people call it DPIN. DPIN also requires like quite a lot of data throughput, especially because we're talking about keeping track of a lot of things like on and off chain. So Hive is also a phenomenal alternative for it whenever we're talking about real world assets or RWAs, because of all the compliance and all the records that have to be kept and maintained. Like this is also a very good alternative. So there is like everything that or most of the verticals that will allow crypto to really grow and scale require a lot of data processing and verification as well. So this is why I also personally I also believe that Hive is so well positioned because it's coming out of stealth and actually like getting the product like going pretty soon, right before we see this huge wave of institutions and of sounds redundant but real world assets actually like coming into the chain, into the blockchain, right? So I think we're gonna be very well positioned not only to take advantage of this, but also to support this and to help scale these efforts that we're seeing. You know, it's we're very keen to be able to grow the pie.
That's very bullish, and that's something we're excited about. Even at Symbiotic, even if we're not directly at the application layer, like we always like very excited about like what our networks like enable for the global crypto ecosystem. So it's definitely very bullish. I'm asking like also like you guys are competing with AWS with like centralized services that have like the benefit of being decentralized. You bring the benefit of decentralization, but like how do you mitigate like the trade-offs that might come with decentralization when you in terms of performance?
Oh, in terms of well, the system that we're utilizing, I'm not gonna go that much into detail, but I will say that in terms of how do you say, in terms of economic or share security, we're able what we were talking about being able to have or be secured by the same guarantees as the underlying layer. Thanks to Symbiotic universal staking framework, we're able to, or the DA part of Hive, the product, is able to be secured and have the same guarantees as the underlying layer. For example, if we're talking about the stake or Ethereum LSTs, we're talking about Ethereum's economic security, and we're talking about how Hive would be secured by Ethereum through these collateral or LRTs on Symbiotic. In this case, it can be WST, it can be Mantle ETH, or many others. The same case would be for if we're talking about a Bitcoin L2 or a product, a let's say a club on a Bitcoin layer 2 or on Bitcoin or BitVM, then we could also be secured by some of these Bitcoin LRTs and actually have or really enhance the existing stack for that platform without compromising or bringing in new trust assumptions or new external parties that they need to rely on. And how do we get to this performance? Because we do everything in parallel. So you might or might have not heard about parallel processing in blockchain, and that's what we do. Instead of processing one by one in terms of transaction validating all of this data, we have a lot of uh, these parties or nodes validating simultaneously through this parallel approach, right? So that's what allows us to do in kind of like in a quarter of a time what others would be doing regularly, right? So I hope that explains it enough. Otherwise, I will have to bring Dawa over here, man. But yeah,
And it would definitely be a pleasure to have Dawe on as well. But I think you did a pretty good job, like explaining, what you guys were doing and like how you were building Hive. My next question is more around like, what are the challenges in terms of economic alignment that come when you're building like this type of like blockchain infra and like I mean infra in general, because if you want to keep like this ecosystem like decentralized, like and you have like a multitude of like validators, contributors, and like stakers, like what's like the challenge that you face in terms of economic alignment?
so just to be clear on the question, is this question as to what are some of the challenges that Hive would be facing right now, like taking in consideration that it's building on Symbiotic, or the challenges that a product such as Hive would face generally?
The latter.
Okay, so I mean, spinning a network from zero is not an easy task, and especially if we don't, especially without the, well, nowadays it's a way easier task, right? But like without the necessary infrastructure, it's not. And also incentivizing these network participants it's way more difficult and very costly as well. So that would definitely be a challenge that most products would see and would have in order to start. That's one of the things that Symbiotic also provides, which is allowing us to rent a lot of this security instead of having to create it from zero or launch a new token to try to do it, which is the part of, for example, if we look at other, and this is not necessarily AWS, but we're talking about DA. Whenever we look at other solutions in the market, most of these rely on their own market cap for economic security. Well, an example of this is Celestia. Celestia is as like its economic security can scale as much as its staked market cap because it's secured by TIA. So that's where the economic security comes from. Whenever we're talking about Eigen, for example, Eigen DA, this economic security, like in theory, is all the state assets that we're seeing in Eigen DA and so on. But it's that in reality, whenever there's any sort of like slashing taking place, there's an off-chain social consensus, and Eigen delegates or holders are the ones that end up kind of like deciding on that slashing or vetoing it or so on. So the economic security ends up being as large as the market cap again. So that's one of the beauties of the system that Symbiotic offers, because we're talking about Hype could be secured by Ethereum, Bitcoin, and a bunch of assets that can scale so much more, because we're not talking about raising or launching a token and having to grow its market cap to a billion just to have 1 billion of economic security. We're talking about assets such as Ethereum and Bitcoin, which already have billions of dollars in staked assets or as economic security or share security, right? So we can actually scale a lot more because we have all of this economic security available to rent if and when needed, which is something that others don't. So I would say that's a clear advantage that we have versus a challenge that others have had in the past. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be all rosy for us, right? But it does mean that we or economic security can scale as much as needed, or as much as Ethereum, Bitcoin, and all of these different types of collateral allows it. But it's going to be a way more than just the stake market cap of a single DA asset.
Super interesting. And yeah, and just to touch back again on like I think something that you pointed out that's very interesting is the piece about slashing. Talk about like the usage of slashing for in the context of DA specifically, because you mentioned like one of your competitors, Eigen DA, that has like a lot of theoretical economic security, but not a single dollar of that economic security is slashable. Like why is slashing important in the context of a DA layer?
Slashing is extremely important in the context of a DA layer, in the context of any sort of POS or network that works in this type of fashion, because that's what drives the incentives. Whenever, like, without slashing, it's just money sitting there that it's doing absolutely nothing. But with slashing, this money becomes incentives. It's like flipping a switch. Whenever we have slashing, you flip the switch on, and economic security is on. Why? Because now there's money at risk. And why? Because now bad actors don't have any sort of premium in terms of acting maliciously. They have more to lose than to win, which is just game theory. Any rational actor won't take that path if they know that they will end up being worse off than they started. But without this slashing, it's just money sitting there and it's just smoke and mirrors. I'm not saying that any protocol is smoke and mirrors. I'm saying that the idea of economic security without slashing is smoke and mirrors. And what else? What other thing I was going to add to this? The fact that Symbiotic is has such a modular approach that allows also networks to do it in a pretty much, I mean, to Eli 5 automated, but in reality, in a permissionless and trustless way, something that is driven by code, right? So this takes away also the centralized or permission component that would also subtract credibility and security to this system, because then we're not trusting the system, we're trusting the people that is running the system. And is that really the end goal of crypto and Web3? Because it sounds very Web2-ish to me, if you ask me, you know? So yeah, the slashing would be that switch that we can turn, that when turned on, creates the whole incentive structure for all networks and participants.
Makes complete sense. I guess my follow-up question is then like, why build like why not build like all of this like on your own? You know, you have a very strong tech team. You have Dawe. He's the giga brain. Like, why do you build on Symbiotic for the staking, slashing, and economic alignment piece?
Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna piggyback on a previous answer that I was giving. The part about spinning up a network from zero. It's fucking hard, man. It's hard and it's costly and it's time consuming. So like uh, not only because of the infrastructure and all the efficiency that we are kind of like the all the benefits that we get from building on Symbiotic in terms of efficiency, time saving, cost, and so on, but also because of, and at least from a personal standpoint, I would say that the rich ecosystem that Symbiotic has is also a big factor in why Symbiotic, which is like there's so many talented builders in the ecosystem and so many teams that are keen to work with each other. And that's something that if you're building on your own, besides it being a lot more costly, time consuming, difficult, and a lot of other negative like attributes, then you don't have this super supportive community of builders that will be working with you side by side. And it's very refreshing to work with this group, like with such a group of individuals, because or team, because in the like I've been working in crypto for almost 4 years, and I've never seen a community slash ecosystem that is as close and just nice to each other, especially when it comes to builders, because there's always this sort of implied competition aspect present. But in here is a very healthy competition. We all like the whole ecosystem helps each other to actually grow better and become better. So why not building it on our own? Because it would cost a lot more, it would take a lot more, it would be a pain in the ass, and we wouldn't have an ounce of the support that we currently have in the ecosystem.
Got it.
You know,
Very, very interesting.
we're very charismatic though, so we would have a lot of support. But we like the Symbiotic support, and we love the ecosystem that Symbiotic offers.
For sure. For sure. Um, I'm just like I guess like one question that like I'm personally like interested in is like when you do have like a lot of customers, and I guess like this is like more of like a general question about like when you are like a successful like blockchain infra provider like data availability, how what is like a good like model to align the incentives between like operators, the restakers, and the customers of that solution? Like how do you make sure that everybody is like rewarded fairly?
There's a lot of answers to this, and it's also there's I would say that there's also kind of like a subjective side of this question. because we see different approach, like different protocols utilizing different approaches, and that doesn't mean that either is right or wrong, but I would say the way to ensure that all, I mean, you ensure that by implementing, like by first creating like the tokenomic structure, number two, like implementing all the different types of fees and logic in it. But I would say that the only way to, like, there's going to be a lot of theory in advance in terms of like how to ensure that all of these participants are okay or incentivized, but we'll only be able to see in practice, because at the end of the day, we've seen that most of the incentive structures that crypto protocols have launched end up being flawed. Like they start by being praised and then end up being flawed with TVL or volume or activity or you name it going down 99. And this is not like this is in terms of activity or interest in products and networks. So in terms of how to keep users and all network participants aligned or incentivized, I would say that there's not a perfect answer, and that it would be something that protocols need to figure out, uh, kind of like by not experience. The word is not experience, but with numbers and kind of like once it's live. Uh,
Yeah,
I think that some people in my team would have a very, very, very different answer than I, but that's my answer because I
nice.
think that there's no right or wrong way in here.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I have a very interesting
What will be
perspective.
your answer, Edgar?
My answer is that it's dependent on like the different ways that people build like protocols. And the reality is that most protocols like have tokens, and it just makes sense for if you're gonna have a token, it makes sense that like the value accrual of your underlying protocol like goes back to your token a bit. So I think like staking functionality like makes sense for like a protocol token on top of probably like governance. And it's actually something that you can build on Symbiotic, VE tokenomics plus like some type of either revenue share or like inflation of the token, things like that like are possible. And so yeah, like you let's say like I'm a interop provider. I'm an interop provider. I have my own tokens. People are paying me fees to go from chain to chain. So I'm accruing revenue. I need to have like a clear like distinction between like which piece of the revenue goes into like my treasury and can be like used to pay like employees, for example, and sustain like the company behind the protocol in a sense, and which part can go to like the community and the people providing economic security, whether it's like my own token or if it's like a wrapped STE, for example, like an exogenous token. So yeah, this is like what I think would make sense. Of course, like there's various different types of solutions, but yeah, that would be my answer.
No, phenomenal. I
Um,
do agree.
I guess my last question before I give the hand to the chat would be what is next for Hive? You've been in like you like your middleware has been live on Symbiotic in a pre-deposit manner. When can operators like start to like run the Hive binary and participate in the decentralization of your protocol? Uh, when are you going to effectively like go live on mainnet?
So I'm gonna do something here. I'm not gonna tell you when. I'm gonna tell you what. So what's gonna happen next? DevNet, and what's gonna happen after that? Testnet, and then we'll see mainnet. There's three key steps that we have in front of us, and during the next few weeks, we will see a lot of Hive on the feeds and just around X because we'll be doing and having a lot of initiatives. We'll be activating socials quite a lot, especially as we get closer to some of these milestones that I just mentioned before. So I would just say that next for Hive is gonna there's gonna be a lot of activity, a lot of community building, and just a lot of activation in terms of socials and in terms of different sorts of initiatives. And we will also start to see the product coming to life in a progressive fashion very, very, very soon. So
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
I guess
say
I
when,
also had,
but that's what.
yeah, yeah, I guess I also had like, I guess like a more precise question would be which would be like when can we know more about like the secret thing that you're cooking? You mentioned earlier that like you're doing more than just like a classical like DA layer. Uh, when can we know more about like that secret sauce?
You wanna make me spill the beans, Edgar? Damn.
Just
So,
tease the bean. Don't spill the bean. Just tease it. Like make us want to eat it when it's available.
so okay. Uh, what I will say is that it's a matter of weeks, and we are. And I'm not talking like weeks, or like 42 weeks. No, like you should. We shouldn't even be talking about double-digit weeks. I'm not gonna say for what, but so that's gonna be so that we start seeing exactly what I'm talking about and seeing some form and for the concept that we have been describing here, Edgar, in terms of AWS, in terms of competition for data storage, and in terms of how Hive steers away from this data availability narrative. So, matter of weeks, we'll start to see a lot. I'm not saying that the product iterations that I just mentioned earlier are going to be all live or any of them live in a matter of weeks, but there's going to be quite some things going live that you don't want to miss. So I'm not only talking to Edgar, I'm talking
Nice.
to everyone in the audience. Like quite some things that you don't want to miss. So yeah,
Nice.
uh, just follow Hive for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, and maybe like before I pass the mic, would love for you to just share your socials. Where can people can follow you, learn more about Hive, get hyped.
Absolutely. So at Hive HYVE underscore DA. And also, if you just type Hive DA all together in the search without any ad or anything, you should be able to see us as well, like the black and white logo. Beautiful, beautiful and perfect logo. Yeah, that's us. And my socials, you can find me at Jose Fabrega B. That one is probably going to be a complicated one, so I'm going to drop it in the chat as well. But yeah, I think that would be the main thing because if I keep talking, I'll just start revealing stuff, man. So yeah, like I would just say follow us on X, like the Hive, and follow myself as well.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, I'll pass back the mic to Symbiotic to monitor the Discord chat questions. But yeah, guys, it was great, and please do not hesitate to ask your questions in the chat.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Edgar. Wow, this was a really, really, I would say, in-depth deep dive into Hive TA. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Edgar, and also thank you, Jose. I really love that you put toilet cleaner at Hive TA on your socials. It's really funny.
The toilet cleaner, yeah, man. You know, sometimes we need to be cleaning shit, so
Yeah,
might as well.
I love it, man. I love it. Okay, I
Likewise,
think that
brother.
yeah, I have a personal question for you though, if you don't mind me. That is for the community itself. So earlier on, you mentioned uh, a little bit about how we should follow the Hive DA social and also join the Discord because there are some community activations and stuff, right? So, in that sense, as a retail community user, I believe, which most of us are in the audience, how should we go about participating in Hive DA to make sure that we are kind of like as deeply involved as everyone else who are already involved in Hive DA.
That's actually a phenomenal question, especially because Hive is a very infrastructure facing, or how a lot of people call it B2B sort of platform, right? So In we will have quite different type of initiatives also for retail type of users, but at least as of right now, it's mostly community building type of activities, educational activities, and relatively simple activities that will allow users to get very acquainted with the project, with some of the verticals that we will be working with. And eventually, once the product goes live, and once we start seeing integrators, also being very early to all of these different products that will be integrating Hive. At the end of the day, the goal is not for Hive, for example, like to be the lone wolf and go to $1 trillion market cap, you know. But at the end of the day, like the goal is to be able to power this new generation of super scalable apps and apps that you and everyone else will want to use. It can be apps such as Venmo or payment solutions. It can be apps such as games. It can be the decentralized physical infrastructure, such as any sort of application that is consumer facing tends to require a lot of data throughput, a lot of speed, and a very, very good UX. And all of these are things that Hive will be facilitating through its infrastructure. So I would say these sort of activities, there will be a lot of these focus on retail users, and this will allow users to pretty much learn more about Hive, get acquainted with everything about Hive, and eventually with its upcoming integrators, being early to all of these projects, which I don't doubt will be of your like.
You guys heard it
Hopefully,
from Jose
hopefully that
himself.
responds the question. You can also tell me, hey, that didn't respond my question at all, and I will try to respond it.
I think this really answers my question. Like, I mean, this is what happens to most of the B2B projects out there, right? Like, the real retail, I would say, users should focus on their partners and, of course, those that integrated them as well, right? So they will definitely benefit from those instead. So I agree with what you have mentioned earlier as well. And you have also happened to help me to lead me up to my next question, which is from one of the community members himself. This question is by Andrew Glorious. I think he asked this during the very early, I think quite early during the AMA. And his question was, uh, how do you see Symbiotic plus Hive DA combo being used in real world industries beyond Web3? Earlier on, you mentioned Venmo. How does it work? And for example, in managing distributed teams, logistic, finance, or even public administration, how does all this come together and like yeah, maybe you can share a little bit more.
Oh, that question. It almost sounds like someone knows too much. But yeah, I would say that they come together like quite nice. When we think, whenever like from the Hive perspective, whenever we think of Hive and Symbiotic, we tend to think of it as we've seen other pair of call it restaking or share security platforms pair with data availability platforms. A popular example is EigenLayer and EigenDA. What is the difference here, or what would be some of the main differences? Whenever we think of that combo, not only we're thinking about permission setups, but we're also thinking about one centralized team. And in here, not only it's like Symbiotic. One of the things that we like about Symbiotic is the neutrality that it has. Like it's incredibly neutral, you know. So at the end of the day, they don't have any competing apps that they will favor more or less, like in their ecosystem, allowing other teams and builders to thrive. Hive being one of those. That being said, Symbiotic do I'm not gonna say that it needs, but it makes a lot of sense for Symbiotic to also have this data layer that is secured by its infrastructure and allows countless types of applications and networks to scale. So this would go extremely well in terms of bringing real world applications on chain, in terms of being able to scale and provide foundations for all of these networks and blockchains, and start with a very, very, very robust sort of yeah foundation, I would say. I don't want to. I think that would be the answer that I would like to give. I don't want to keep talking more, but I do think that they do go very well, and it's even better because we're talking about a permissionless and decentralized setup altogether, and we will be talking about actually being able to leverage blockchain and crypto without compromising, kind of like in an efficient way or scalable way without compromising the core ethos of it, which is what a lot of these fast growing infra has done recently.
Man, I love your answer, man. I hope that answers your question, Andrew Glorious, but you have got me really excited, Jose. Thank you so much for the answer. I'm definitely looking forward to see what you guys can build up.
Let's
I think
go.
let's go, let's fucking go. Oops, sorry, but yeah. I have one more question from Olicia, which is, what happens if the value of the stake or restake assets drops significantly? Does it threaten Hive's economic security?
Yep, yep. The answer, like in short, is yes. At the end of the day, or all of these different sorts of economic security, like they're backed by either one asset or another, or in Symbiotic's case, which is one of the healthiest ones, is it can be a basket of assets, or it can be different, like because of its modular architecture, which allows for different sorts of collateral or collateral flexibility, whatever term you want to use. But the idea here is that it diversifies the collateral in a way in which there's less, like, risk is less concentrated in one asset. The problem, though, is that the crypto industry is still extremely correlated. And when Bitcoin says, hey, I'm going down, dude, we're all going down, you know? So it's that's for sure kind of like one of the things about economic security and about not leveraging or over leveraging economic security, the different sort of black swans or cascade effects that there can happen. But the how do you say it? The type of applications or the way in which apps are being secured nowadays is not under this sort of over leveraging that we're talking about. So would it affect things? Yes. But would it be catastrophic, or would we see black swan effects based on this? Most likely not, because there wouldn't be necessarily liquidations in mass as we see whenever people are like over leveraging in lending apps and so on. Can security decrease as the value decrease? Yes. Would that mean that we'll see the market crashing and everything going to zero? No, not necessarily. I would say not at all. So
Yeah,
yeah,
just to add something there, like this is why like it would probably make sense for protocols to have like also some type of stable coins in the economic security risk. And when we start seeing like a more like RWAs come on chain, that is also like a great use for a great thing to put in a economic security risk, because like
Edgar.
it would be, yeah.
No, no, I didn't want to interrupt. I just had a question, but finish and then I will ask you a question.
And yeah, and I think when like one big trend that we're going to see in the next like 6 to 12 months is going to be like a huge boom in RWAs, and these RWAs like they're probably like not going to have like a lot to do like on chain in terms of like providing economic security or like being active on in DeFi. And so like securing like decentralized protocols and giving them like an uncorrelated like economic security is something that's going to be definitely like good for the space.
Did you just reveal that Symbiotic will start taking RWAs as collateral for economic security, or am I tripping?
Oh,
Symbiotic, no, there's not, guys, it's not an announcement. Symbiotic is collateral agnostic from the start. The only thing that like an asset needs to be accepted on Symbiotic is that a network accepts it as economic security. So tomorrow, if like Hive DA wants to accept the Pepe meme coin, then Pepe meme coin will be stakeable on Symbiotic because it's accepted by Hive DA. We don't have like a way to censor what people want to use for economic security. And so
So
if Hive DAs are coming on chain, then I think that people would want to use them as economic security, and so they are likely to come on Symbiotic.
So as long as these stocks are what ERC20 tokens or what exactly? Like as long as they are a specific type of token, they can be utilized as collateral.
Yeah,
Okay, no, yeah, that's interesting. That's like I I had a little brain fart and forgot about that part. But yeah, that's very interesting. I do think that we'll see some of these assets becoming collaterals. Like Hive, for example, will absolutely implement Pepe and Comrocket as collaterals.
yeah, that's pristine collateral right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we think.
I love it, man. Thank you so much, Edgar, and also Jose for taking the questions. Olisa, I hope that answers your question. You really sparked a small little discussion between all of us, which is a good thing. So, okay, I think we have kind of like overrun a little bit, but all good. So I think we will just end it here today. So thank you so much, Jose, and also Edgar, for taking so much time out to join us today and also to share so much about Hive DA. It was really, really super interesting to learn about Hive DA. So for everyone here who has tuned in today, if you want to learn more about Hive DA, don't hesitate to join or follow their Twitter account. I'll be sharing their socials right here. Just look at the chat itself. I've just shared the Twitter, the Discord, and also their website as well. So feel free to just head over to their socials, follow them, join their community. If you have questions, pop in, ask Jose. I believe he'll be there to take on some of your questions or even the moderators in Hive DA itself. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Before we really truly end off, do you guys, Jose or Edgar, have any last words for our audience here before we really turn off the switch?
I would just say thank you so much, Symbiotic, and thank you so much, Edgar, as well. Like it was like super fun time. It was a phenomenal AMA sesh. So thank you very much for the invite, and for the public, you know what to do at Hive_DA on X and at Jose Fabrega B on X. I sent both of those on the chat. So I will see you all on the community and on X, baby.
Yeah. And thank you so much again, like Symbiotic for organizing as usual. And yeah, Jose, muchas gracias para venir. Always a pleasure to have you. Always bullish on Hive, always bullish on your team. Very cool people building very cool tech. That's what we love in crypto. And yeah, if you guys want to follow me, and for the ones that are like new to this channel, my Twitter is Roth _Edgar EDJAR.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in today. It was a really fantastic session. I hope everyone have a great week ahead. And also, last but not least, thank you guys, the audience, for tuning in today. Today's session is slightly long because super cool to hear about what Hive DA is building. But thank you guys. I'll see you guys next week. And sorry, I think next week. Yeah. Either way, I'll see you guys really soon.
Perfect.
All right. So catch you guys soon, man. Take care, God. Take care, Jose. I'll see you guys soon as well.
Thank you guys.
Bye bye.
Love this one, Edgar.